So what I'm going to just quickly do is talk a little bit about a short video that we're asking all you guys to make, 2 minutes or less, and basically the entire piece, is answering a couple of questions. Basically we want to know, who you are and where you're located. You can just give us the state, that's fine. Which project you're working on, which session you're actually in. And then ideally show us something you're working on. If you have something physical, that would be great. If you happen to have like I know there's some of them that have your guys are actually getting kits. Some of them are going to be screens, so that you may want to show us a little bit about what you're demoing or what you're working on there. And then ultimately a little bit about what you're actually enjoying doing. What's exciting about the project. These slides are going to be shared with you guys. There is a Dropbox link here that you can upload your video to. So again, this can either be a single video or it can be something that you edit together. It depends on sort of how much you want to put into that video. Ideally, we'd like to have that video uploaded by end of day Monday, the 20th. We're always happy to get submissions early, so please feel free to send them our way ahead of time. I just want to talk a little bit about some different ways of capturing stuff. I'm sure all of you have, a lot of you probably have phones that have cameras. One of the things that we want to make sure you're doing is that you're recording at least in 1920 by 1080, so in HD, and at 30 frames a second, and that you're using it and you're recording it ideally in landscape mode as opposed to portrait mode. We can certainly use video in either orientation. Landscape mode just uses the screen that we're going to ultimately be playing these back in a little better. Do keep in mind that if you are shooting with a camera, something like a selfie stick or a little tripod, or even just propping it up so you can see yourself, see that you're in the frame, so that it's not sort of bouncing around. And again, try not to be too far away from that camera, so that we try and get as good audio as possible. You can make beautiful pictures, but if we can't hear you, it's not all that great. And again, depending on what your ability and what your interest is in video, you can also do some post-production where you might record some images and then edit them together, and then do like a little bit of a voiceover. So all those are possible. Again, it's important that that I know there's a lot on your plate already, so I don't want to give you guys too much. Here's a couple other, just quickly using Mac with QuickTime. QuickTime has built into it a number of different recording options, and basically these are just step-by-step instructions on how to utilize that. The laptop's great because it basically becomes a tripod for you, and you can see both what you're recording as well as monitor and see how much audio you're getting. So if you're getting a good enough level. Things like Zoom, you can also use. The resolution on the Zoom recording is not all that great. So that is one thing to keep in mind. So typically we like to either use a phone or a laptop in order to do those captures. Again, once you're actually in QuickTime, you can basically go in and there's a little, right where this pop-up is a little triangle that lets you select all of the different camera interfaces you might have and all the different microphone interfaces you might have. If you have an external mic, they work great. They sound better. The internal mic on most laptops also works great as long as you're 2 to 3 feet away. Once you get much further than that, they start to fall apart a bit. And ultimately, we want to make sure that you're using the maximum quality in terms of the recording. There is also doing an audio record only and a screen record. So if you need to capture something that if you're doing a demo on a website or you're doing something on your computer that you're trying to capture or show, that's a great tool for also capturing that as well. But again, that does mean that you'll probably have to bring it in and put it together into a short video. Some things we do like you guys to try and move around, utilize the space that you're in. If you want to go outside, that's great. Do be aware that wind can be a real a real challenge. If you are shooting inside, you know, making sure that you're using available light, that basically, you know, what you don't want to have is the window behind you. You want to actually turn yourself and the computer around so that the light is actually shining on your face, and it's not actually behind, coming into the lens, because that will cause a silhouette and we won't really be able to see you, which would be terrible. Again, if you're filming at night or in a dark location, just want to make sure you're trying to find some place that has enough lights. You know, ideally you don't want stuff that's shining straight down on the top of your head, but something that's actually coming more towards your face. So that may mean, you know, taking a lamp and taking off the shade so you get a little more light. Ideally, we want to get it so that you're not, you know, really bright on one side and really dark on the other. But again, you can experiment with that a little bit. You know, do think about where you're recording. So I call it the set, but you know, where if you're in your house, you know, if you're in the kitchen and the family's running in and out behind you, that may not be the greatest place. Or if you're kind of in a corner and it's just white walls, you know, try and find something that has a little bit of depth and maybe a little image behind you. Ideally, you know, you want to have something that's, well, this is clean and organized, but I think for these sessions, it makes sense for it to be a little more chaotic. You know, having, you know, your models or your cars or any of that kind of content on and in front of you is also great. Just a sense of what you're doing. I'm going to skip over this because I don't think you guys are going to be doing interviews so much as just talking to the camera. And what I will say to that is, we do want you talking to the camera. So looking into the lens and making sure that you're, you know, that you're sharing your thoughts with us, you know, as opposed to kind of looking off and necessarily talking away from the camera lens. Again, all these slides will be available. So if you want to read through them more, you certainly can. But what we're really trying to do is just make sure that you have something that you're excited about and that enthusiasm comes through. You know, ideally, if there is somebody who you're working with, or you know, a family member, we want to try not to have them necessarily speak on the recording as well. So just you or anyone else who might be near you who's also working on the project. I don't know if there are any groups that are actually in close proximity to each other, but and even if you wanted to use something like a little bit of like a Zoom session, you know, that would certainly be fine as well. Again, that's thinking about kind of if there's other spaces or other places. What we're finding in all the recordings that we're doing is we have so many of these sessions, you know, Zoom Square with people talking into a camera. So if there is any other kind of area or space that you can think about where you might be, you know, working, or that gives us a little bit of sense of you and how the sessions are going, and again, if you're enjoying about the project, you know, the better. Again, one of the big things, particularly with a phone, is that if you do too long of a recording, you may need to offload that media. So using things like Apple Photo or Google Photo to kind of transfer video files to a laptop if you are doing editing, or ultimately transferring that you know, up to this Dropbox URL, which is where we're asking you to upload your finished video file. Again, that's by Monday the 20th, end of day Monday the 20th. But
wait,
again,
yep. So when you upload your files should be your first name, your last name, and your class.
Yes, thank you, Lisa. that will be very important for us.
Make sure that your videos are labeled like that. Your titles.
And we'll add that into this presentation to make sure that's also in the the naming convention is actually in this presentation as well. I'm going to skip over this because I don't think you guys are doing any animations or you know, B-roll and that sort of thing. You know, again, one of the things we want to make sure that you guys don't do is don't pull any music off the internet. You know, if there's any, we don't want to have any copyright issues, and removing music from something is very challenging, if not impossible. So, please be aware, just because you can get it from the from online does not mean you should use it. And that goes for images as well. So it's really best for you to record yourself and any other assets you may want to use, as opposed to, pulling B-roll or pulling images or other photo clips off the internet. Try and just use stuff that you've created. Also just make sure if you are recording and that there are other people around that, and you do record them, that they know you're recording and that they're okay with being in the video. And again, and probably the most important part is don't stress out too much about this. I know there's a lot on all your plates, and have fun making the video. So with that, that is that is my very quick presentation. And again, this will be shared. Lisa, enjoy, and we'll add in that add in the naming convention of the file as well.